Okay, so onto the sort of freestanding console desk then. As before, I've pre-scalpeled all the pieces, and actually I've also scored these as well. We've got here all the base parts, all the supports, bolsters. On the console base, I've pre-beveled this across here, here and here. And actually one of the first things we're going to do here, so these are all the bits and pieces, just move those to the side. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just glue console readouts A and console readouts B together. They're both the same size, doesn't matter which one you put on top of each other. I'll show you why that is in a second. We're actually going to bevel these, but I want to bevel them at the same time, so I'm just going to glue those together, leave them to dry while we crack on with the rest of it. Just leave that off to one side. Okay, so first of all, we've got the main printed parts. As always, these are marked with the little green and red tabs where to score. In fact, on this particular piece, everything's an overscore. So we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scores basically. Nice and simple. So I'm just going to fill this out. Okay, that's it, already bent out, and already you can see that actually you can see the kind of shape that this console has. There you go, finished. Okay, so there you go, that's that, as it were. What we're going to do, just going to check to make sure the base is pretty much the right size, and that seems to slot on there quite nicely. Just going to check, got this little internal support here. Pop that under there, make sure that fits on there nicely. That's great. Okay, so that all seems to fit in there fine. First thing I'm going to do then, actually, I'm just going to glue this piece under here. Just sits underneath on this little shape here. Then next, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue this onto here, and then this bit onto here, and this bit onto here. Before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that I give this a good bend down here, because this really needs to be vertical. With this little piece here, you'll need to hold that just for a while to let that set in, especially because these are at a bit of an angle, or here's a bit of an angle. It's not such a direct contact. To help keep these in place once you've glued them, you can kind of pinch this bit here out. It kind of helps to clamp that down in the right spot. The next thing we're going to do, it's not quite dry yet, so I'll keep pinching this as I'm talking. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to make a very, very quick and simple tab underneath, again to help keep this shape and to strengthen it. And this tab is just going to be a simple right angle tab, small one, that's going to fit under here, and we're just going to lay it across either side of this, again just to help this keep its shape. So just need an off-cut card. make sure you pre-bend these to the right angle, so that just helps. Then we can just tack them into place. I'm putting these quite down, make sure, I don't know how clear this is, make sure I leave a little bit of a gap here, because the base is going to sort of slot into this bit here, so I don't want to sort of get in the way of that. Okay, just going to leave that to dry now for a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do now is basically pop this little bit here together, and also drop these onto here. I'm going to start with this little unit here. Got these little tabs on here. Just let those set for a minute. Now with this part here, we glued right at the very start. That actually fits just perfect in here, and if you wrap around you can even squeeze that solid, because that's all going to be glued together like that. And you can glue your tabs on here, and it makes a solid keyboard. So, but as you can see already, we've got some gap in here, and it's actually going to be at an angle, so when we glue this onto here, it's not going to sit in there directly flat, as it were. It's actually going to be sitting in there at a slight angle, and the angle is set by this. So what we want here is, if I push that right in to the front, we want this to be a taper back here, like a bevel. So using the scalpel, I'm just going to very carefully mark along here without actually marking the bit, as it were, and here as well. Before I'm marking this up, I'm making sure this is in the right place. Just these parts here. That's going to be our guide. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bevel across here until it lines up with the top of this. And we'll do the long part first. That seems pretty good, so just pop that in there and have a look. That's fine. Okay. So again, now I just need to bevel across these bits and then kind of run it in line. So. Okay. So. That's good. That's ready to be glued in. Back to this little unit here, I'm just gonna, now that they're dry, just gonna pop these in. A little bit of edge gluing. Okay then, seems to be okay. And again, just pop that to one side. Now, what we're going to do is glue this in here. That's it. Now all I've got to do is glue down these little flaps here. So before we fit this on the base, all I'm going to do is pop this in, just make sure that sits in there okay, and it does. And now you can see the kind of angle that it will sit at, but at the moment the whole thing's a bit wobbly because underneath here we've got some bowing and stuff. Once we put the base on, that'll all square up. Okay, so let's do that now. So want to get this base in now. Sort of kind of tricky really, because the whole lot goes in one go. So with this, it's really just a case of making sure it fits first, and you kind of glue the whole thing and just edge it in, as it were. You just sort of fiddle with it until it's kind of in the right place. And you'll find that once you glue everything down, you'll get things like that little bow there, and you'll find you just sort of squash it along and the glue holds it all in place. What I have got on this side here slightly, just here, is this bit here seems to be sticking down slightly further. Now I could just squash that. I'm just going to sort of tack that off, and actually, well, it's hardly noticeable here. I'm going to tack that off just with the scalpel here. Quite difficult to do actually, because now this is all sort of kind of together. So all I'll do is I'm going to put this on the edge of the table over here, so I've got a solid surface. I'm just going to nip it off. You're not going to be able to see this, bear with me. That's it. I've just kind of lined it back up with there a little bit. That should help. Okay, so base time. Now this is edging, but rather than edge the base itself, I'm actually going to edge inside of here and drop the base on and have a play with it. And I'll normally use the scalpel to lift it out if I push it in too far. Cool, so 2 more bits to put on. Just got to fix this in place. And on here you can see all the computer readouts and gubbins, etc. just suddenly stop underneath a black line. So we just want to butt this up with that line. So knowing where it is I've got to put it in, all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue. And with this, because it's this bit I'm putting in, I'm just going to glue across here. So I'm going to edge glue more towards the bottom than the top, so if there is any splurging in the glue, it comes underneath, which is just not visible. Drop this little unit on the top. A little bit of edge glue, and you don't need a lot here, just something to cement it in place. So there it is. That's your freestanding computer console. Thanks for watching this tutorial video for the command room pack. On to the next tutorial video, and happy gaming.